Leo went back to the dorm. The moment his head hit the pillow, he was out. The Rolex box sat peacefully on his nightstand. He dreamed. He dreamed he gave Stella a little red flower, crossed oceans to find her, and she stabbed him in the chest. Leo's eyes flew open. He gasped for breath and instinctively touched his chest. No knife, no scar. The sun was up. The timeline was glowing softly. 6 to 6:30. Wash up, drink a glass of honey water. Healthy gut, happy day. He glanced at his wrist to check the time, but it was bare. Stella had his watch. He checked his phone. 6:20. Time to get up. Scrape, scrape, scrape. The sound of a metal spoon scraping against the inside of a glass honey jar. Leo had forgotten to buy more again. Yesterday, there was just a thin layer at the bottom. Today, after more scraping, there was still just a thin layer at the bottom. He finally managed to get a full spoonful. He looked up to see Sean standing right next to him, phone in hand. You're insane. Leo threw his towel at Sean's head. The guy had basically fused with his phone. His eyes weren't even fully open, but the video was already recording. Daily content. Landscape mode. My bad, Sean mumbled, yawning. Leo drank his honey water and blocked the camera with his hand. I'm heading to the bathroom now. You don't need to film that. It's going to smell. After Leo finished in the bathroom, Sean went back to bed for his second round of sleep. He'd been waking up in the middle of the night to check his analytics, and his sleep was suffering. It made Leo think that success really is a young person's game. If you wait until you're older, you might not even make it, and all those sleepless nights staring at data will just land you in the ICU. Jordan was sleeping soundly. As a self-proclaimed pretty boy, he was committed to getting his 10 hours of beauty sleep every night. Alex, for the first time in ages, was already up. He was a ball of energy, usually out all day, but he was never an early riser. It was a rare sight. In the time it took Leo to use the bathroom, Alex had already transformed himself into a respectable-looking human being. He was dressed in his typical future Senator Yang style, button-down shirt, slacks, and a briefcase that screamed mid-level government official. He completed the look with black leather sandals worn over a pair of black socks. It was a slightly dorky look, but Alex was tall with a strong, square jaw, and at 22, he was still young enough to pull it off. He looked reliable and ambitious. They had a full-length mirror in the room, courtesy of Jordan. Standing next to each other, Leo felt like Alex looked a good 10 years older than him. Alex noticed Leo in his workout t-shirt and shorts. He seemed more confident lately, standing taller, looking energetic and young. Leo had always been good-looking, with a clean-cut face, and now that confidence was adding an extra something. Alex clicked his tongue twice. You've gotten a lot more handsome recently, Leo. Leo blushed a little. A compliment from Senator Yang himself? It must be true. Alex never did anything without a reason. He was heading out early for something important. Leo had his morning run to get to. He had a running partner waiting for him. He thought for a moment, then slung his backpack over his shoulder. He put the watch inside. The combined value of everything else he owned didn't even come close to the price of that watch. He was terrified of losing it and having to pay for it. He had to get it back to Stella. She was an adult, so it's not like her mom would come demanding it back. But you never know. What if? He could just imagine it. Given Stella's family background, her mother might summon him for a meeting and slide a check across the table. Name your price. How much will it take for you to leave my daughter alone? Whoa. He was shocked by the sheer shamelessness of his own imagination. He saw Professor Reed walking toward him and was so lost in his thoughts that he forgot to say hello. She spoke first. Morning, Leo. Good morning, Professor Reed. It was an overcast day. No wind, just heavy, humid air. Professor Reed was wearing a purple knit short-sleeve sweater and a pair of white shorts that ended at her knees. It was incredible. At 69, her calves were still smooth and fair. She truly was a 24-karat gold tier single woman. Money can't make you young again, but it can definitely make you look a lot younger than your peers. She was also wearing different glasses. Not the gold-rimmed ones with the chain, but a stylish pair of diamond-shaped black frames. Those glasses look really fashionable, Professor, Leo said, his 7-point intelligence brain serving up the compliment automatically. Professor Reed demurely pushed the glasses up her nose with a finger and smiled. My grandson in the States bought them for me. They just arrived. I have a meeting in the city this afternoon, so I thought I'd wear them. She looked Leo up and down. A fine young man, she thought. Clean-cut, refreshing to look at, runs every morning, speaks politely, seems well-behaved. Suddenly, an idea struck her. Actually, she said, I could use someone to carry my bag today. My assistant is on leave. Are you free? You could be my aide for the day. Of course, travel and accommodation would be covered, along with other benefits and a stipend, but the professor didn't feel the need to mention that. For her, the invitation itself was the offer. Her assistant, Willow, was pregnant and suffering from severe morning sickness, so she'd be out for a while. The university was supposed to assign someone else, but Professor Reed found the process tedious and hadn't finalized anything. Seeing this young man, for some reason, she decided to ask him on the spot. Leo's mouth fell open. He was surprised, but even more so, he was thrilled. The chance to work for a professor was something people fought for, especially a professor like Evelyn Reed. He'd Googled her before. The kind of brilliant people you meet in college, you rarely get a chance to encounter again after graduation. Evelyn Reed, American Academy of Arts and Sciences Fellow, Academia Sinica Academician, Professor Emerita of Mathematics and Physics at Harvard, Distinguished Professor at Tsinghua University, Vice Director of the Beijing Institute of Mathematical Sciences and Applications. The list of titles went on and on. Her role as a professor at Northwood State was the least impressive item on her resume. No wonder she looked at them in class like they were a herd of swine. She probably thought pigs were smarter. The only reason she was here was that the school offered her a house. The scenery was nice, and there was supposedly a legendary traditional Chinese medicine doctor in the area that she was interested in for her retirement. So, she'd been lured here to live out her golden years and, on the side, teach a bunch of idiots, mostly to boost the school's reputation. Even in retirement, she still held many important positions and had to attend conferences. Leo never imagined that simply going for a run every morning would lead to such an incredible opportunity falling from the sky. He had to catch it. He pictured himself leaping into the air, doing a 360-degree spin, and catching it right in his mouth. Yes, absolutely, Professor. What do I need to prepare? Where should I meet you? Evelyn Reed patted her upper arm. 1 o'clock this afternoon, at the entrance to the faculty apartments. There will be a car. If the meeting runs late, we might have to stay overnight, so just pack a change of clothes. Okay, I'll see you this afternoon. Leo was buzzing with excitement. He said his goodbyes and took off running again. Professor Reed waved, a small smile on her face as she watched his retreating figure. Youth, she thought, was a wonderful thing. Leo's heart was pounding. He was happy, excited, and a little flustered. He never would have thought that the first person to offer him an overnight stay would be his 69-year-old calculus professor. Leo sprinted toward Stella. She was waiting for him by the flower beds at the main campus roundabout. Her internal clock was as reliable as Professor Reed's. She woke up, washed her face, changed into her workout clothes, and headed out. Today, she was wearing a casual, sleeveless tank top and athletic pants. Leo felt like she could wear anything and still look cool, sharp, and effortlessly stylish. Her tank top was pure white, with a tiny logo on the right side of her chest, a small, finger-width red tag with the word Prada on it. Her pants had the same tag on the pocket. To preserve his fragile worldview, he decided not to ask about the price. He didn't need that kind of self-inflicted humiliation. But Stella had the kind of body that would look good even in a burlap sack. The tank top revealed her arms and shoulders. It wasn't low-cut. It didn't even show her collarbones. But her physique was so perfectly proportioned that even her shoulders and arms looked elegant. The curve of her chest was just right, not too big, not too small. A medical examiner would have loved her. A perfect specimen. Leo, a normal 21-year-old, appreciated the female form as naturally as he ate or drank. It wasn't about having weird thoughts. It was just an instinctive admiration. Women appreciated handsome men too, but they usually channeled it into things like celebrity crushes. Men were often more interested in the real-life people they saw every day. The love of beauty is universal. When Leo reached Stella, he was still buzzing with excitement, and his expression was happier than usual. Stella could see it clearly, and she felt a corresponding surge of joy. When you're waiting for someone and they come toward you with a smile, their happiness becomes your own. Because of one person, a mundane road becomes familiar and dear. The grass on the roadside seems more vibrant, and the clouds of the sky look perfectly placed. You don't realize you're missing them until you see them, and then you understand. This is what it feels like to miss someone. Leo watched as the serious expression on Stella's face blossomed into a smile the moment she saw him. It was like a night blooming Sirius that had waited all night to finally open. She was perfect from head to toe, except for the beat-up old Casio on her left wrist. It was possible she had chosen this particular workout outfit just to match the watch. Leo had a strange feeling he understood. Even now, he still didn't get it. What had he done to deserve this? Why her? Why him? But seeing her brilliant smile, he thought, who needs a reason? At least she was smiling. When she smiled, the whole world seemed to stand still. Life doesn't always need a why. Sometimes a smile is enough. Stella noticed Leo was carrying his backpack, but he wasn't wearing the watch she'd given him. A flicker of disappointment crossed her face. Right now, Stella was feeling a bit like a fan who's met their idol. She wasn't necessarily in love with the Leo standing in front of her. She was in love with the idea of him in her head. The one with the beautiful singing voice. The one who was distant and unattainable. If the Leo she admired happened to be the same as the real Leo, then maybe that was love. If they were vastly different, she would probably come to her senses and very rationally say goodbye. Leo couldn't grasp these complex emotions, but he could sense security and insecurity. Right now, Stella was happy, and that happiness was directed at him. Feelings were complicated. If he hadn't just run into Professor Reed, he would still be feeling anxious and insecure. The Rolex was beautiful. It was one thing to never have one, but to have had it in your hands and then let it go, that was something he would regret forever. But when Professor Reed asked him to work for her, suddenly everything shifted. Leo felt his heart, which had been floating in the air, finally land on solid ground. No wonder Alex was so confident every day. He had goals, direction, things to do. No wonder Sean seemed more stable these past few days. It was just him and Jordan who were still drifting. Even though he got up on time every day to run, exercise, and study, he never felt settled. He didn't have his own goals. He was just being pushed along by others like swimming against the current. If he stopped fighting, he'd be washed away. But Professor Reed had asked him to work for her, and suddenly, he felt grounded. He needed to study hard to prove that he was useful. From a young age, students are taught to study hard, but no one ever teaches them why, how to apply what they learn, or where to use it. Learning without thinking is pointless. Learning without doing is useless. Maybe he didn't need some spectacular success. He just needed to prove, first to himself, that he could do things. He just needed a chance, even a small one. That's why he was happy, joyful. This feeling, he realized, was even better than being in love. A young man's heart is like a scale. Love on one side, a career on the other. He needed to work, to try, to do something. Maybe he would never earn enough to buy a Rolex in his entire life, but he would have peace of mind. He would be stable, not tossed around by uncertainty, not like a kite held by a string, constantly worried she would let go. Yes, a person without confidence doesn't dare to take her hand, because he's afraid she'll let go. It wasn't even about love yet. I have no confidence, so I have no idea why you like me. I don't dare to like you back because I'm afraid that if I do, and one day you suddenly stop, I'll be crushed. Stella was the kind of person you could never figure out. Her liking you felt like a gift, a moment of insanity on her part. And one day, when she came to her senses, she would just walk away without a second thought. Leo felt like fate was a strange thing, as if the script had already been written. The first time they met, he sang an emotional indie ballad. Then, a classic love ballad about crossing oceans. And last night, for some reason, he had recorded a dark, moody pop song about a beautiful destroyer. Their story together would probably follow the same path as those lyrics. It was like a prophecy. He had even rehearsed it in his dreams. But the complexity of feelings is that even when you know it's a trap, you still have to jump in. You know you'll get hurt, but you have to experience it for yourself. How can you know how much it hurts if you've never been hurt before? That's how Leo felt about Stella right now. He said, with complete seriousness, "Your Highness, I couldn't sleep last night. The Rolex box was on my nightstand, and I was so worried someone would steal it, so worried it would be gone when I woke up. I didn't get a wink of sleep. Look, I even have dark circles." Stella laughed again. This time her smile was even more beautiful, a mix of arrogance and charm. "You're just trying to get me to look at your eyelashes. So what if they're long?" "I'm serious. Look, I even brought the Rolex with me on my run. I feel like a snail carrying its heavy shell. It's a lot of pressure." Stella held out her arm, her elegant hand palm up. Leo took the Rolex box out of his backpack and gave it to her. It was heavy. As he handed it over, he felt a wave of relief. He was exaggerating, of course, but sometimes jokes are just the truth in disguise. He watched as Stella opened the box. Rich people really are different, he thought. They just accept things, check them, no fuss. If it were him, and someone was returning something, he'd be too embarrassed to even open it. What if it was empty? Then he saw her set the box aside, take out the watch, and peel off the protective film. Last night, Jordan had given him a lecture on this. You never peel the film off a Rolex. Once it's off, the sale is final. The sales associates always show you the watch with the film on, to prove it's brand new, untouched. If you take it to a second-hand dealer, a watch with film and one without are two different prices. Leo watched her, wanted to say something, but he bit his tongue. She didn't need that kind of advice. That was for poor people. He watched as her long, slender fingers effortlessly tore off the film from the face, the clasp, the band, rip, 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 as if she'd done it 100 times before. Then she reached out and took his left hand. Leo tensed. In broad daylight, in public? What was she doing? Was she going to hold his hand? She was so strange. It felt like she'd never been in a relationship before, yet her actions were so bold, so forceful, almost like Jessica Monroe. Stella held his hand. Her touch was warm, but her face was expressionless as she lifted his hand, fastened the watch around his wrist, and clicked the clasp shut. Click! At that exact moment, the fountain in the center of the roundabout suddenly roared to life, shooting water high into the air. The streams arced and fell, but before they could even hit the ground, new jets of water shot up to take their place, over and over, a brilliant, beautiful cycle. Just like Leo's heart. His heart was a fountain, and his blood was pumping just like that, shooting out, hitting the walls of his veins, receding, only to be pushed out again by the next beat, over and over. Don't take it off without my permission, Stella said, her voice commanding. Then she laced her fingers through his and gave their joined hands a little shake. Her hand, wearing his Casio. His hand, wearing her Rolex. The fountain danced in the sunlight. 6:30 to 7 o'clock. Run. A healthy body leads to a clear mind, inspires ambition, and maintains a positive spirit. The run still had to happen. A little romance wasn't going to change that. When two people are together, they have to do something. It's just more normal that way. Leo left his backpack, now containing an empty Rolex box, with a security guard at the front gate. He and Stella started their run, a little later than usual. All around campus, there were banners. Congratulations on the successful conclusion of the XXX event. So that's why the fountain was on. Every time his arm swung forward, he saw the Rolex. It was so damn beautiful. He felt a little lightheaded. Now he understood why girls burst into tears of joy when a diamond ring is slipped on their finger. That inexplicable sense of ceremony is powerful. Who says guys don't like it? Guys just don't like being the ones who have to provide it all the time. Stella was a master. Leo felt himself falling for her completely. No wonder a girl with a diamond ring will willingly walk into the prison of marriage. In that single moment, if Stella had asked him to jump off a cliff with her, he would have followed without hesitation. She didn't ask him to jump off a cliff. She just kept running with him. They still didn't talk much, because you're not really supposed to chat while you're running properly. But every now and then, they would glance at each other, their eyes would meet, and he would be rewarded with a smile. He felt like a boy collecting pearls. Stella's smiles were the pearls, and he spent the whole morning running and gathering them. You have to run with abandon when you're 21. And if there's a girl running beside you, even better, running releases dopamine. It makes you happy, fills you with emotion, and makes you hopeful for the future. It makes even a simple breakfast burrito taste like the most delicious thing on earth. For breakfast, Leo went back to the same food truck. He bought 2 breakfast burritos, one for him and one for Stella, and 2 cartons of soy milk. While he was ordering, he suddenly thought of Moose. If he was going to be Professor Reed's assistant for the afternoon, he wouldn't have time to walk him. He needed to let Paige know. He sent her a quick text. Stella stood off to the side, polite as always. Even though he didn't have a privacy screen on his phone, she wouldn't have peeked. He wasn't doing anything shady, but her politeness also felt not very couple-like. After sending the text, he said, "This afternoon, I'm going into the city for a conference with my calculus professor, Professor Reed. Her assistant is on leave, so I'm filling in for the day. Just had to let my other boss know." "Okay," Stella said, just smiling. That smile made his heart flutter again. You have to fall in love early, he thought. Otherwise, when you're older, all this heart fluttering will just lead to a stent or bypass surgery. They walked back slowly. There was nowhere to sit at the food truck, so they found a spot on the steps by the basketball court and ate their breakfast. The court was empty, but they ate happily, grinning at it as if Michael Jordan himself were putting on a show just for them. Professor Reed said if it gets too late, we might stay in the city overnight. So I might not be able to run with you tomorrow morning. Just wanted to let you know. If I can make it back, I'll tell you. Okay. Stella just smiled sweetly. When she smiled at him like that, he lost all ability to speak. They were about to part ways, almost back at the fountain, when Leo remembered the song he'd recorded. He sent the audio file to Stella. "What is it? Listen to it when you get back." He waved goodbye to her. He didn't walk her to her dorm. She hadn't invited him, and he could sense that she wouldn't want him to. It was a subtle feeling. She liked him, but maybe not that much. Maybe this was how rich people confess their feelings. Saying I like you is too casual. Saying I love you is too heavy. So they just say, "Here, have a Rolex." Leo went back to his dorm, stopping at the dining hall to pick up the inferior, less tasty version of breakfast burritos for Sean and Jordan. It couldn't be helped. Their dorm was closer to the dining hall. In her dorm room at the Honors College, Paige Kennedy had just woken up. She'd stayed up too late reading a novel. It was a tragic boy's love story, and it had completely wrecked her. She cried so much her eyes were swollen shut. Looking in the mirror now, she was horrified. Her round face already made her look chubby, and now it was puffy and swollen. She'd planned to get all dressed up today and go find Leo on the main campus. She'd even picked out an outfit, the new short shorts and tight top she'd just bought. She quickly grabbed 2 cooling eye masks and stuck them under her eyes, a desperate attempt at damage control. Then she made an Americano. A black coffee on an empty stomach was supposed to reduce swelling. After her coffee, she finally picked up her phone. The first thing she saw was a new message from Leo at the top of her chat list. "Hey boss, something came up this afternoon, so I have to take the day off. Won't be able to walk Moose. Can you please let him know for me? Thanks. Paige." She was furious, annoyed. She'd already picked out her outfit. That jerk, taking a day off on his second day of work. Unbelievable. She and Moose would condemn him together. Paige stomped around her room, slamming things down. Her roommate asked her what was wrong. Did Damien and Chase not end up together? He died. Paige shrieked, slamming her hand on her desk. Her roommate gasped. "No way. That's impossible. I'm so mad." Paige screamed again. After her run, Stella didn't want Leo to walk her back. She had a habit of taking a detour through the small garden behind her dorm building. For a long time, it had been her private sanctuary, a place where she would often sit and think. She was just a bit of a loner. As she approached the swing set where she usually sat, she saw a dead cicada on the stone path nearby. At least, she assumed it was dead. A swarm of ants was surrounding it, preparing to carry it away as food. Stella watched them calmly, feeling no particular sympathy. When she was little, she had a puppy. One day, after she'd done something wrong, her mother had punished her by giving the puppy away. That would have been bad enough. But the family her mother gave it to ate it. Stella had been depressed for a long time after that. She couldn't bring herself to love small animals anymore. The memory was too terrifying. That was also when her relationship with her mother began to deteriorate. She even had her mother saved in her phone as Ms. Vance. Vance. She opened her messages. As usual, there was a red dot next to Ms. Vance's name. She didn't even have to open it to know it was a barrage of terrifying, alarmist articles. But what could be more terrifying than your own mother giving your puppy away to be eaten? Stella opened the file Leo had sent her. An audio clip. She pressed play. Got a grayscale prison in my head, full of black ink thoughts I wish were dead. You can knock me down and watch me fall, but don't you ever think I'll crawl. You're the angel and the devil in me. So you break my heart so beautifully. You make me laugh right up to the end, then I find a knife where my heart should have been. Let them piece together our whole story. I'm too tired to explain. What is love anyway? When they all want to see me break, I've already been reborn, stronger than before. The raw, raspy voice sang over and over, like he was holding you close, whispering in your ear. The wind rustled past, and the stray hairs by her ear danced gently. On the stone path, the ants had finally gathered enough forces to move the dead cicada, marching it toward their nest. Tears streamed down the girl's face. The boy's song played on a loop.